The incredible role of synchronicity in your life. Life is quietly guiding you back. What if the things you call coincidences are actually messages waiting to be heard? In this video, we'll explore the mysterious language of synchronicity, the subtle signs, strange timings, and emotional echoes that seem to link your inner world with what's unfolding around you. Inspired by the depth psychology of Carl Jung, this isn't about magic or superstition. It's about awareness. You'll discover why certain people cross your path, why missed chances sometimes carry greater meaning, and how listening with presence can change the way you experience reality. If you've ever felt that life is trying to speak to you, not with loud answers, but with silent truths, then stay with this. Because when you understand how synchronicity works, even pain, silence, and uncertainty become part of a deeper conversation. One that's not meant to explain everything, but to lead you back to yourself. Not only are you searching, but something is also searching for you. There are moments in life when you feel lost, drifting through questions that seem to echo without answers. In those quiet spaces, something deeper stirs. It feels like more than just coincidence. A book appears with the exact title you needed. A stranger says a sentence that strikes a hidden chord. A missed bus leads you to an unexpected encounter. These aren't just random moments. They feel precise, almost intentional, as if life itself was trying to speak to you. Carl Jung called this synchronicity. It's not about magic or luck. It's when your inner world and outer reality collide in ways that carry undeniable meaning. You are not the only one asking. Life is also responding. There's something greater that wants to find you too, but not through loud signs or dramatic events. It reveals itself through subtleties, through timing, through things that move you in ways logic cannot explain. This force isn't separate from you. It meets you where you are in silence, in stillness, in presence. The question is not whether it exists, but whether you are available to notice it. Because sometimes what you are looking for is quietly walking toward you too. When life is no longer just a series of coincidences, at some point you begin to notice the patterns. Small things align. Encounters feel too exact. A thought appears, and then the world reflects it back. It makes you wonder if life is trying to say something. This is not fantasy. It is not superstition. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, and he treated it as a real phenomenon that bridges your internal experience with the external world. It happens when something inside you matches something outside of you with such emotional precision that it feels like more than chance. Life becomes a mirror. Events become symbolic. Reality stops feeling random and starts to feel like a conversation. This does not mean that every coincidence is meaningful. But when a moment shakes you, moves you, or answers a question you were silently asking, it might be more than coincidence. It might be your unconscious speaking through the world. Synchronicity reveals that your life has a thread running through it, something guiding, shaping, responding. And when you see it not as magic, but as a reflection of your inner state, the world begins to feel alive in a different way. Not louder, just clearer. What is a true sign and what is just imagination? Not every coincidence is a message. Not every strange event carries meaning. Sometimes we want something so badly that we see signs where there are none. This is where discernment becomes essential. Carl Jung warned that synchronicity must touch a real layer of the psyche to be meaningful. It cannot be based on a fleeting desire or a projection of hope. The mind is powerful and can connect unrelated dots just to make a story feel complete. But synchronicity is not about completing stories. It is about revealing what is truly happening inside you. A real sign does not need to be chased. It finds you. It creates a pause. It moves something in you that words cannot reach. It might bring clarity. It might stir emotions. It always carries emotional weight. That is the difference. A coincidence is noticed. A synchronicity is felt. The impact is what makes it real. You do not need to explain it to others. It is personal. And in that personal resonance, something inside you recognizes a deeper truth. This is why some people experience the same event, but only one of them is transformed. Because synchronicity is not a fact outside of you. It is a mirror held up to your inner world. To recognize it, you need honesty. You need to ask yourself, did this moment really affect me, or am I just hoping it means something? That answer is your guide. It helps you separate the signs from the noise. When you stop chasing meaning and start listening to what truly moves you, you come closer to your own voice. Learn to listen through presence, not reasoning. Synchronicity does not arrive through logic. It comes in whispers, a soft nudge, a sudden stillness. But most people miss it because they are trained to live in noise. Mental noise, emotional noise. The constant rush to fix, to control, to explain. We become so busy searching for answers that we lose the capacity to truly hear them. Jung understood that the unconscious does not force itself. It invites, it speaks in images, sensations, atmospheres. It communicates through presence, not pressure. That is why listening requires a different kind of attention. Not the attention that analyzes, but the attention that feels. You do not need to chase synchronicity. You need to become available to it. And availability starts with presence, a few quiet moments, a breath without rushing, a gaze held just a second longer. These small acts shift your state. They create the space for something real to enter. Presence is not passive, it is courageous. Because when you are truly present, you allow yourself to feel without filters. And that is where the messages lie. In the subtle, in the overlooked, in the quiet parts of life that speak only when you stop shouting inside. To receive synchronicity is to stop interrupting it. To slow down long enough for reality to show its face, not the version you want to see, but the one that is already there waiting to be seen. When disruption is not a setback but a message. There are times when life stops you, a plan fails, a relationship ends, an opportunity disappears. At first it feels like punishment or failure, but if you look closer, something deeper is happening. The path you wanted is not unfolding. Not because you are wrong, but because something in you is changing. The unconscious often uses disruption to speak. It interrupts what is comfortable to reveal what is essential. Jung believed that life does not always give us what we want, but what we need to grow. A closed door might not be rejection. It might be redirection. Synchronicity works through this kind of precision. A painful no today might be making space for a more meaningful yes later. But it takes courage to see it that way. It takes trust in the unseen order behind apparent chaos. The ego sees disruption as loss. The soul sees it as alignment. This shift in perception is not easy, but it is necessary. When something breaks down, it invites you to look again, to ask different questions, to feel instead of force. And in that space, the message appears, not as a loud sign, but as a subtle realignment. Life is not stopping you. It is guiding you, just not in the direction you expected. Pain is not the end. It is the beginning. Pain often feels like a door closing. Something breaks. Something is lost. And in that moment, it is easy to believe that everything is falling apart. But pain is not always destruction. Sometimes it is a signal, a turning point, a deep internal call to change direction. Jung understood that suffering is not just something to be escaped. It is a teacher. It shows you where you are still holding on, where you have refused to see, and where something inside you is asking to grow. Real transformation rarely begins in comfort. It begins in discomfort, in collapse, in the moment you realize that what once worked no longer does. Synchronicity often uses pain as an opening, not to hurt you, but to awaken you, to shake you out of your routine and force you to listen. Pain makes things real. It breaks the illusions. It exposes the truth. And when you allow yourself to feel it fully without running, without numbing, something shifts. The pain does not vanish, but it becomes meaningful. It becomes a doorway into parts of yourself that were waiting to be seen. The ego sees pain as failure. The soul sees it as passage. Through it, you begin to reconnect with your deeper self, not the version of you that performs, but the one that feels, the one that knows. Pain, when embraced with honesty, becomes the beginning of awakening. Not the end of your story, but the start of something far more real. Not getting what you want may be exactly what you need. Sometimes the thing you want most slips through your fingers. A dream fades. A relationship ends before it begins. A perfect opportunity falls apart. You are left wondering what went wrong. But what if nothing went wrong? What if life is not punishing you but preparing you? Jung believed that the psyche seeks wholeness, not comfort. This means that sometimes your deepest desires must be interrupted so that your true path can emerge. The ego wants what is familiar, predictable, and validating, but the soul wants what is real. When you do not get what you want, you are forced to question everything. You begin to see the difference between attachment and alignment, between craving and calling. That gap creates space. Space for reflection, space for healing, space for something more honest to take root. Synchronicity uses these gaps to work. The missed chances, the broken plans, the unexpected endings. They are not detours. They are invitations to realign, to let go of what no longer fits, to become the person who is ready for something deeper. Not getting what you wanted is painful, but it is also revealing. It shows you where you were clinging, where you were resisting, and where life was asking you to grow. In that sense, loss is not an end. It is a sacred interruption, a pause that clears the way for something more true to arrive. Life does not speak in words. It speaks in symbols. The unconscious mind does not use language the way we do. It speaks through images, emotions, patterns, and symbols. Carl Jung believed that when the unconscious wants to be heard, It will find a way to express itself through your external reality. A repeated number, a phrase in a song, a stranger who says something that hits you deeply. These are not just random events. They are messages in disguise, not to be decoded like puzzles, but to be felt. Life becomes a symbolic surface, and synchronicity is how the inner world finds a mirror outside him. But to see these symbols, you must learn to look differently. Not with the mind that judges, but with the heart that recognizes. A symbol carries emotional weight. It bypasses logic and lands somewhere deeper. And when something symbolic appears, it often moves you in ways you cannot explain. You feel it before you understand it. That is how the soul speaks, not to impress you, but to awaken you. It is not interested in performance. It is interested in wholeness. So if something repeats, if an image keeps showing up, if a moment strikes a chord, do not rush to define it. Stay with it. Let it speak. Let it unfold. Because life is not always speaking directly. Often it is whispering through the symbols only you can recognize. When your inner world changes, the outer world begins to respond. You do not have to change the whole world. You only have to begin within. When your inner state shifts, something around you starts to move. People appear with different energy. Opportunities unfold that once felt distant. Challenges show up that push you to grow in new directions. It may look like the world is changing, but what you are really seeing is a reflection of your own transformation. Jung believed that the outer world often mirrors the psyche. This means your reality responds to your inner truth even when you are not fully aware of it. When you become more honest with yourself, the world becomes more honest with you. You start to attract what resonates, not just what you chase. And you stop clinging to things that no longer align. Synchronicity works through this resonance. It meets you at the level of your authenticity, not at your ambition, not at your fear, but at the depth of your presence. So the question is not how to force life to respond. The question is how to meet life from a deeper place. When your choices reflect your inner clarity, the response will come. Maybe not instantly, maybe not as expected, but it will come in a way that affirms the path you are truly meant to walk. Reality becomes less about control and more about relationship. A living feedback between who you are and what the world becomes around you. You do not have to grasp everything. Just be willing to be present. We are taught to understand everything, to name, define, and control, but life often refuses to fit into clear explanations. Some moments cannot be solved. They can only be lived. Synchronicity does not ask for certainty. It asks for presence. When you try to force meaning, you miss what is unfolding naturally. The ego wants answers. The soul wants experience. And experience only happens when you stop grasping and start listening. To be present is not to be passive. It is to engage with what is real right now without rushing to change it. You may not have all the facts. You may not know what it means, but you are here, and that is enough. Jung understood that the unconscious does not respond to pressure. It opens through trust, trust that you do not need to decode every moment to receive its gift. Some answers only come when you stop chasing them. When you sit with the unknown and breathe through the uncertainty, something deeper begins to emerge. Presence invites life to speak, not through noise, but through resonance, not through control, but through alignment. When you release the need to grasp, you create space. And in that space, the truth can finally arrive. Not forced, not rushed, just quietly revealed at the pace your soul can hold. The things that awaken you rarely arrive with noise. Awakening does not always come as a grand moment. It often arrives quietly, in a pause, in a tear you did not expect, in a sentence that echoes long after it was spoken. These moments do not shout, they whisper, and yet they leave a lasting mark. Synchronicity works in this way. It does not announce itself. It finds you when you are still enough to notice. The world does not need to get louder. You need to become more sensitive, more attuned to the subtleties of your own experience. Jung believed that the unconscious speaks in a symbolic language, and its voice grows clearer when the surface noise fades. That is why some of the most powerful shifts happen in silence. Not the silence of nothingness, but the silence where something real can finally be heard. A sudden calm, a chill down your spine, a quiet recognition that changes everything. These are signs, not dramatic but deep. They do not demand your attention. They invite it. They pull you inward, back to what matters, back to what is true. So do not wait for life to scream. Learn to listen when it lowers its voice. The softest moments often hold the strongest truths. Encounters are not random. They are a call to return to your true self. Some people enter your life briefly yet leave a mark that lasts. Others challenge you in ways that feel uncomfortable but necessary. These encounters may seem accidental, but often they are far more than that. Jung believed that life places certain people on our path not by chance but by synchronicity. These individuals reflect something we are ready to see. Sometimes they awaken strength, Other times they expose wounds we have buried. But either way, they invite us back to our center. Encounters become mirrors showing us where we are aligned and where we are still hiding from our truth. The stranger who speaks your fear aloud. The friend who unknowingly opens your heart. Even the person who hurt you and forced you to face your own shadow. These are not just events. They are messages shaped by your own inner landscape. To meet someone deeply is not just to know them, but to recognize what they reveal about you. When you begin to see encounters as symbolic, the people in your life take on new meaning. They are not here to complete you. They are here to reflect you. And in that reflection, you begin to remember who you truly are. Not who you were taught to be, but who your soul has always known itself to be. The truth about psychology is not weakness, but courage. Many people still see psychology as something only for the broken or unstable. They associate healing with weakness and introspection with fragility. But this misunderstanding comes from fear. Real psychological work is not about escaping life. It is about facing it. It takes strength to look within, to question your patterns, to admit that not everything inside you is peaceful. Jung never saw the unconscious as something to be feared. He saw it as a living source of truth. Engaging with it requires honesty, discipline, and above all, courage. You are not weak because you feel. You are not broken because you seek help. You are human. And the more you understand your inner world, the more power you have to meet the outer one with clarity. Psychology is not about labeling yourself. It is about liberating yourself from stories that no longer serve you. The real work begins when you stop pretending to be fine and start listening to what your soul has been trying to tell you. Healing is not passive. It is an act of bravery. And those who walk the path of inner growth are not escaping reality. They are preparing to face it with open eyes and a whole heart. Practicing synchronicity is the journey back to inner strength and meaning. Synchronicity is not just something you notice. It is something you live. To practice synchronicity is to live with presence, to move with trust, and to allow meaning to reveal itself. This practice begins with awareness. Start by paying attention to what moves you deeply, what repeats, what makes you pause. These are not random moments. They are invitations. Keep a journal of symbols, feelings, and small events that strike a chord. Over time, you will begin to see patterns, not forced meanings, but natural echoes of your inner life reflected in the world. Then comes discernment. Learn to feel the difference between true resonance and wishful thinking. Ask yourself, does this moment awaken something honest in me? If yes, stay with it. Let it unfold. Finally, practice surrender. You do not need to control what happens. You only need to meet it with awareness. When you stop chasing clarity and begin honoring what is here, synchronicity becomes more than theory. It becomes a relationship, a dialogue between your soul and the world around you. Through this, you begin to live from a place of grounded strength, not needing to predict everything, just ready to respond with presence. And in that response, meaning grows quietly, deeply, truthfully. You were never lost. You were only learning to listen. Synchronicity is not a destination, but a way of seeing. A quiet reminder that life is always in conversation with you, not through noise, but through presence. And the more you return to yourself, the clearer that dialogue becomes.